How to build a survival kit. Hello, my friends. This is the Art of Prepping. I just want to thank everyone for their ongoing support and to welcome the new subscribers. Over the last few months, I've received lots and lots of new subscribers, hundreds and hundreds of new subscribers, and that's very cool. And what I've been seeing, though, is that a lot of the new subscribers are new to preparedness. And because of that, I'm going to make this video for you. And so building a survival kit doesn't have to be some kind of crazy adventure that takes a couple years to do. This is something that you could do over a weekend, and you may have at least some of the supplies already. In fact, you may have most of the supplies just laying around the house. So it's kind of good to know what are the essentials for your survival kit. A lot of people at first get mixed up in a lot of this high speed, low drag gear that's very expensive. And I'm here to tell you that you really need pretty much none of that. When you're building your survival kit, and even though this is going to be a more basic survival kit, it will get you through in most situations for sure. You may want to add specific extras that complement, any kind of special situation that you're in or any of your special needs. So let's just jump into it. The first is your shelter and warmth. Big things. That's the number one reason, if you get down to brass tacks of what kills people out in the wilderness and in survival situations. So that's a big problem there. And you want to address it by having some type of shelter system. It first starts out with the clothes on your body, and then you work out. So it's really good to have extra warm clothing, to have a layer to protect yourself against not only just the cold, but also the wind and rain. So maybe some kind of rain gear or poncho, to have some garbage bags that could be improvised to help provide some shelter, a Mylar or a Tyvek type of blanket or bivy system. Have a lightweight tarp. It doesn't have to be very big at all. You can get very compact tarps to put in a bag, and also to have cordage to rig up and to make that shelter. And what I mean by cordage, and that's going to be something that you're going to have to look into yourself of what you prefer. But typically speaking, bank line, which is like tarred type of cordage, is sought after by a certain group of people, like bushcrafters. And then there's a bunch of other people that are more into, say, survival and or prepping that prefer, in my opinion, from what I've seen, more of parachute cord, also known as paracord. And they have different types of paracord too. So just be aware of that. The type 3 550 cord is kind of like the most common, but they do have quite a other variety to choose from. And so just be careful as well to pick the nylon paracord over the polyester. There's a big difference there. U.S. military spec paracord uses nylon, not polyester. The next would be fire. Fire is very important as well as part of the warmth category of shelter and warmth. It is something that you have to have. So matches, lighters, a ferrocerium rod, also known as a ferro rod, all very important. It's good to have more than one means to make fire. It's also important to look at your tinder, to have some of that as well, like cotton balls rolled in Vaseline and stored away in maybe like Ziploc bags, or to put your cotton balls rolled in Vaseline and encapsulated inside maybe like duct tape, for example. Also, it's good to have some fat wood and also charcloth. And then there's a whole medley of commercially available tinder if you're into that. The next is first aid, having a nice basic first aid kit and a trauma kit with a minimum of a trauma bandage, a tourniquet, a hemostatic agent to help coagulate the blood. If there's a lot of blood loss or blood flow from your body, you want to stop that bleeding out, and a gauze pad with a wrap. So that's kind of like basic, but there's a lot more than that when you start looking into it. Food rations. Depending on what you eat, just find something that's pretty shelf stable and that's lightweight and go with that. Pretty much the rule of thumb is to eat things that require little to no preparation during a survival situation. You don't want to expend any time or energy that you don't have to. So just be mindful of what kind of food you get. Water. Yeah, it's good to have water with you, and have a metal, container or canteen. But it's also good to have a filter too. So if you can't carry water, or if there is no water in your area, but you're going to a place that does have water, to be able to purify that, or at least filter out the crud, very important. A bandana or a shamag, I think that kind of is a given. You can use it for a ton of applications, not just for first aid, but to keep sun and dust out your face, or to do a lot of things to cool yourself down. The next is a compass and a map of your area, obviously, to kind of keep from getting lost and to go from point A to point B efficiently. Signaling devices such as a whistle, signal mirror, and a flare, just one of many ideas there to think of and to consider. A flashlight and headlamp, I mean, a flashlight and a headlamp with spare batteries. Some people like to go with also a very small um, a lantern that you see in some of these images here. It's just an option, but typically speaking, they start with the headlamp as the primary and a flashlight secondary, because it's hands free. Headlamps are awesome like that. But spare batteries, or if you don't want to go the spare battery route, just select a USB rechargeable headlamp system and just include a small solar charger, and also a backup battery bank, or a charging device, that you can actually plug into to recharge your battery. Also, an emergency transponder is also a possibility, if you have the money to do such. They're not real super cheap. One of the brands out there is called Spot, and it's just like an emergency transponder that goes to satellites, and it can alert various people of an emergency that you may be having. Also, don't forget to have your tools, like a multi-tool of your choice, and a knife of a decent quality. It could be something as simple as a Mora, or something much more extravagant. But you want something that can actually do something. You want something of size. You don't want these micro knives, and you probably don't want a Foti knife as your primary knife. A handsaw, it's another option. Depending on where you live, you may have woods in your area. Zip ties, duct tape, needle and thread. Wind-up radio is not a bad idea. Gloves, and a firearm, if that's something that you're into at all. And all this needs to be put in a backpack for the most efficient carry. Thanks for watching.